from Rome on Coast to Coast AM. We'll start.
I work in the mental health field. I work at a residential care facility. I work with individuals, everything from OCD to autism, schizophrenia, and things. I have been working for the last couple of years with a young man whose parents are extremely religious. They just returned from a 2-year mission for their church, and during this time, their son, who was in our care, began to show some forth. But since they've returned, and since he's being reintroduced into a more frequent schedule of religious activities, he's began to manifest more and more symptoms that look like maybe a split personality disorder, where he will have conversations with himself speaking in one voice, and then he answers in a deeper, more sinister voice. And it's a little spooky. It's not something we haven't seen before, but I sometimes wonder, I remember hearing at some time in the past, one of the previous, that there had been some evidence that individuals who are suffering schizophrenia, symptoms like that, had actually experienced some degree of cure by undergoing an exorcism. And I wonder if, Matt, if you'd seen any evidence that that was true, and if they would support that conclusion.
Well, thanks for your question, Mark. I mean, I can kind of see two things going on here. One is something that exorcists see a lot. You know, this idea that if a person's very religious, and it happens, of course, hear voices, and they may be schizophrenics, they may characterize those voices as being demonic or religious in nature. I mean, it's only natural. Another thing could be that I don't know this child's case, but the idea that if he's exposed to involving demons and these kind of things, well, he may act out using, you know, those cues. That's something that a psychiatrist could better diagnose than me, because exorcists do see that. You know, they see people who come to them, religious families, and they, of course, and this is something also that anthropologists have seen in Native societies. There's certain places where, for instance, if you look at women, certain societies where it's very male-dominated, a woman's only chance to empower themselves is as being possessed. As strange as that may seem, it allows them to, you know, to do things that they wouldn't normally do. It could also be a call for attention. So all these things could be natural reasons. The second part of your question being, can an exorcism, can a ritual help somebody who's schizophrenic? These kinds of questions. If they're truly suffering from a mental illness and it's diagnosable that they're schizophrenic, then I would say no. They shouldn't undergo something like an exorcism, which is a very particular ritual. It could cause a person to see themselves as being evil, seeing the problem being spiritual when it's not. They could see a priest, they could see a pastor, whomever, who could pray blessings over them, who could comfort them, you know, who could make them feel like they were being helped. Those kinds of rituals do help when you have somebody who is there. Studies have shown, it also benefits when they are undergoing therapy, because they could become more motivated with the therapy if they're feeling like they're in a healing environment, if other people are caring for them. So I think if he's diagnosable as a schizophrenic, suffering from OCD or some other thing, then it probably wouldn't help him to undergo an exorcism.
And yet, I've heard that similar claim too, that rid of something is enough to, if you will, kind of fake it till they make it. That it gives them a toehold on those inner thoughts, because it externalizes an internal struggle. You know what, you mentioned that just because you're women, that is the story behind the Salem witch trials. That the young girls that were claiming to have been cursed by the woman who lived on the outskirts of society, and then all of the other craziness of all the witch stuff that came out, possessed, they were taken seriously at a time like that.
Sorry.
Go ahead. No, please.
No, so I was just saying, so that is definitely something that exorcists need to be aware of, priests need to be aware of. So this isn't just a mental illness versus natural causes. I mean, that's also behavioral. You also need to be a little bit savvy when you're seeing people. You need to look at the family, which is why they tend to meet with the family. Some don't. They should probably, but it's a bigger picture than just, okay, that person is suffering from mental illness, that person isn't. It could also be they have a reason, and they're using this phenomenon as a way to empower themselves.
John is in Santa Barbara, California, on Coast to Coast, wild card for Matt Baglio. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Matt, first of all, it's not Baglio, it's Baglio.
Before we started the interview, so before you correct me, just know I understand Baglio would be the Italian pronunciation, but Matt chooses to be called Baglio, so I'm going to go with that, if that's okay.
That's my Americanized name. Over here in Italy, it is Baglio.
It is Baglio, but I asked him, John.
I lived in Rome, so, and I had a lot of friends in there, and I played.
I lived in New Jersey. I picked it up when I was in New Jersey. That's why I asked him how he wanted me to pronounce it. So, even in America, some people call it Baglio. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's actually Baglio, but anyway, my Italian accent, that comes through. But, he's calling from St. Peter's, which I call the synagogue of Satan. But anyway, that's listen, seriously, I think this is, once again, I always smell a rat when it comes to the Roman Catholic Church, and I think another gimmick in their bag of tricks, you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Well, okay, what I'm trying to say is that exorcism is ancient voodoo, okay? Nobody really practices that. That's old stuff. And I also think that, this is what the Vatican does in order to keep their status quo and everybody to think that Satan is real when it's really not. Okay?
Well, I got to give Matt a chance to respond in here somewhere. So do you want him to respond on that one, John?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Respond on that comment. This is just part of the Vatican, the bag of tricks. Matt?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the misconceptions that people have is that if it wasn't for the church, if it wasn't for the Catholic Church saying that demons existed, that nobody would believe in this stuff. And that's completely untrue. In fact, for many years, this was in America, and yet there's thousands and thousands of people who believe in angels and demons. You could say millions of people who believe in the idea that angels and demons can influence people's lives. They're going to actual voodoo witch doctors, to psychiatrists who practice things like spirit releasement. This isn't just the Catholic Church on one hand. In fact, in many cases, it's the exorcists who are seeing people coming to them saying, I have a curse put on me, a witch doctor put this curse on me, and it's the exo. It's not true. Calm down. You need to relax. There's no such thing. Are you going to church, etc.? And then it's the person saying, well, then if you're not going to help me, I'm going to go down the street, pay $1,000 to a psychic for a little stone, and my problem's going to go away. So this is much bigger than
Milwaukee, on Coast to Coast, for Matt Baglio, the Rite. Bob?
Gentlemen, thank you for taking my call. I'd just like to go back to earlier, Ian, you had a question insofar as why we wouldn't see more atheists that would be possessed. Wouldn't this be an explanation? Atheists by nature are already away from God. Therefore, I would look at or not necessarily satanic, but demonic possession as being turning somebody away, taking somebody with faith, or with a fault. These people are already away, and therefore the need for demonic possession, insofar as the diabolical realm, wouldn't be as necessary.
Yeah, I've heard that argument before. Matt, where are you with that?
Well, thanks for your question, Bob. I mean, I think there's questions. One is that, well, only Christians become possessed. And that's not true. I mean, the theology behind something that what you're alluding to, Bob, is this idea that when a person distances themselves from God so much to such an extent, then the devil doesn't have to do anything at all. It's when that person then decides, you know what, I'm going to reconnect with my faith.